something that might be affecting McAllen.
Recognize the fact that we've got to do something.
There was a lot of criticism.
It's here. It's not leaving us, okay? So you have to adapt.
I'm Javier Villalobos, Mayor of McAllen, and I'm thrilled to introduce Episode 2 of the McAllen Chamber of Commerce podcast, celebrating community and small business. This episode highlights the vital role small businesses play in McAllen, featuring stories from John Kreidler, Rick Guerra, and Tony Aguirre. Together, they explore our city's history, entrepreneurial spirit, and the Chamber's role in fostering growth. On behalf of the city of McAllen, I'm proud to showcase the heart and dedication of our community. Let's listen in.
Good afternoon. We're excited to be here together again today at another great feature in our podcast, where we're talking to some of our community's most important small business owners. And we're so excited. I want to thank all of you gentlemen for being here with us today. So many great stories about McAllen. I think being a McAllenite, having been raised in this community, and having the great pleasure of building my profession in this community, one thing that is so clear to me that sets us apart from any other place in the Valley is our small business community and how united we are. So I want to talk to you all, our old timers and our Tripa Club group, talking a little bit about how you guys started and how you started building this unity and this great network that makes our community so unique. Let's talk a little bit about the Old Timers Club. I don't know how much our community knows about that and how it started.
Yeah, probably not, because it's not there anymore. It started around 1920, and it was just a bunch of local people that wanted to socialize with each other, but they would have programs, and they always typically had something to eat. And at the time, you had to be over 50 to be in the club, and it stayed quite a while, because I even got to join, and I'm over 50, and so so my dad was very active in the club, and Helen Schneider was very, very active in the club. She's the one that left all of her collection to McAllen Heritage Center downtown in the museum, and her parents were very active, and they had different kinds of programs. There were farmers, there were business people, there were teachers. It was the time I was in it, I was at the Salvation Army building over on 23rd and 495, and I don't remember many of the programs because I don't remember a whole lot of anything anymore. But my dad always wanted me to go with him and wanted me to get involved, and one thing I did learn is I knew so many people from that club in town and church that I went to church with, and the chamber involvement and everything, and it was a neat thing. But unfortunately, the old timers started to die because they were old, and they couldn't get younger members to join, and that's a sad part of kind of a volunteer type group.
At one time, it was a pretty large club. Wasn't
Yes, it was very large, very large. There were, I was looking through some of the minutes on the computer, and there would be 30, 40, 50 people at the meeting. It was, and somebody usually prepared some kind of food. It was a kind of like a potluck deal, and they had desserts. I think that was one of the favorite things that most people liked, with the desserts. And but they always had a guest speaker. Sometimes it was one of their own members. Sometimes it was somebody they brought in to talk about something that might be affecting McAllen in the future. And it was quite interesting.
Any politicians?
There were politicians. When I was in the club, there weren't many politicians. It was mostly business people and just people that were interested in learning about the history of McAllen through talking to the old timers.
Sure. What about the Tripa Club? I know we've heard a little bit of your stories.
Compared to Tony and John, I'm the newcomer. I've only been here 50 years. And when I first came to McAllen in '74, I was assistant general manager of La Posada Las Palmas. And I was trying to know the community, and the first thing, the general manager said, we got to go join the chamber. So we went to the chamber, joined the chamber. and we met a bunch of people there. And one of the people that we met at one of the committee meetings, and I don't remember what committee it was, but it was Jesse Trevino. And that's who I bought my insurance from. And Jesse, the next year, he invited me to this club. He said, Rick, you need to come to I'm having a part, it's called the Tripa Club. I'm from Laredo, you never pass up tripas.
Yes, you do. Some of
and, I started going to this, and I realized quickly, that the magic part that Jesse brought into this, while it was not a chamber function, Jesse put it together. Jesse was president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and he got voted in every year. But he'd have these functions, and what was incredible about it, not unlike today, there were different political factions within the city of McAllen, and he saw the importance of bringing people together for a social event, and he'd invite a bunch of people, and people would go, and you'd have people there from the city. Anybody running for a city election, a school board, county election would be there, because they want to get elected. Then, in the 80s, then we started getting people that were running for state representatives. It continued to grow. He grew it. Yeah. And then even national, we even got Senate people run for Senate come to this thing.
Well, Kika de la Garza used to go.
Yes, that's right.
And the senators would come, and not only the state senators and the state representatives, but he never allowed speeches. That's the good thing about it. It was not
no political.
It was not any political speech. In those days, buttons were a big thing, so people had buttons. Remember that, okay? So you would show maybe your affiliations through the buttons, okay? Maybe, but most of them didn't, okay? And it was a barnstormer because it was at Palmer Pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
Open air, Palmer Pavilion. Not a lot of music. If there was maybe. It wasn't a thing. It was just an aura of people just communicating and talking to each other and getting to know each other. The so-called networking and whatever. Well, yes, but we didn't. We just talked to get to know each other. We talked about, the Old Timers Club, whatever, but, you had the Lions clubs were very, very active. The Kiwanis clubs were very active.
Civitan.
The Rotary clubs were very active. And we had not only one of each, we had a noon and a morning and an evening and a whatever.
Remember when we were in JC's?
We were McAllen JC's big time. And, I was, very active.
Well, and I think that the important role that the Tripa Club played in McAllen, I think it in this thing of unifying people, you started to meet people and you say, well, you know what? John has a different affiliation than I do, but I met John and we just sat there, had a beer and a taco, or in John's case, would have only had a beer because he didn't like the tripas. But you start to meet him, and then you know him. And the one standard that has always been true everywhere, but especially in McAllen was a lot smaller town back then, is that people do business with people. So now I knew John, and John knew me. And it didn't matter that we had different political affiliations. He knew he could call me, and I knew I could call him. And then we met at the chamber. We were all worked together in the chamber, and we got to know each other in the chamber. So I think that the long-term effects of the Tripa Club, also went towards even establishing, Leadership McAllen when we had a lot of turmoil in the community. Leadership McAllen is now its 46th year.
46, and I was Leadership 5.
You
were Leadership 1.
Leadership 1.
So, that's over 40 years of getting together.
I'm not giving the Tripa Club the entire credit for the whole thing, but what I'm saying, though, I think it played an important role in bringing people together and say, you know what? It's okay for Rick and Tony to think differently politically, but they can still be friends. Yeah. And we can still drink a beer after a softball game, because we did that a lot.
We did. Yeah. We were good 10th inning ball players.
Well, I never lost a 10th inning.
You never lost that one, huh?
So, but we had those years of when McAllen was maybe between 35 to 45,000 in the 70s, and yeah, we would just we would get to know each other, and there was a beef syndicate. I remember now. Well, this was the Tripa Club. See, so it was you didn't go to the beef syndicate, you went to the Tripa Club. Okay, so it was that type of
Friendly competition.
But it was at Palmer Pavilion every year, once a year, and political was not the main thing at all, but it was there, it was there. Every constable went, and we talked about the reps and whatever, but they had the constables and the JPs there.
Wow.
Every bank president was
upcoming.
there, and they take off their ties. In those days, no one took off the bank and they took off their ties.
It was a relaxed way to get to know one another.
It was, and I think it played a important role in bringing the.
Well, and I think what Jesse would do was there was always a beer distributor that would
Or two.
provide or two that would provide enough beer for everyone, and then Coca-Cola was the cooks and whatever and all of that, but all of the food and the tripas were relatively inexpensive, and he would pick up $100 from each bank or something like that, and that was enough to do it. I think he charged us $5 or $10 to get in. It was not a money maker. It was not a thing. But you had 300, 400, 500 people there.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, easily.
Wow.
Easily.
So you talked a little bit about how these groups help bring the community together. What were some of the challenges going on in that time?
It was a different time, and when in 1980 we had that very divisive, I think it was very divisive mayoral election, and kind of split the community, and that's what helped also formulate leadership McAllen at that point. Both sides recognized the fact that we've got to do something to get. Unlike the other cities, that there's a lot of McAllen always worked together, and they recognized that you had to do something, and that's where Leadership McAllen came into the picture in 1980. But these organizations like the Tripa Club and like the Old Timers Club, it already had brought people together, so it made it easy for them to communicate and get things going. And I think that helped formulate, where we are today, and create the foundation for where we are today.
And I guess it also strengthens the importance of small business in the community, because it
did.
shows.
And it also, but it gave, most of the people in the Old Timers Club were looking to socialize, meet new people coming into town, getting them to be involved in the town, and they didn't really have a lot of politics. It was just kind of like a pachanga, but not quite.
Well, it was a way for people to get to know each
Yeah,
other.
to get to know each
people
other.
coming into the community. As I ride down the expressways now, I'm walking down, and I think about all those early days where we did all these trips everywhere to try and get businesses to come in. And I look at the traffic on the expressway, and I'm stuck in a full stop. And say, what the heck did we do?
Well, we used to go on caravans, and not buses, they were caravans.
Oh,
and
wow.
4 of us in a car, and there'd be 20 cars going. And we'd have in Saltillo and wherever, in Monterrey and Ciudad Victoria, Guadalajara, San Luis, all of those areas. We should go caravans, with the chamber
business.
To build, those connections.
and they would love to come. And that's when McAllen, when we had La Plaza Mall to sell.
Oh, man, that changed.
Boy.
That was a whole new ballpark.
It was a whole new.
When did that open, La Plaza Mall? I'm just curious.
You know what? That's a very good question.
60s?
It is.
I'm gonna say 82.
I would say it was early 80s, maybe late 70s, but yeah.
Yeah.
See, I opened up as a 22-year-old. Opened up McAllen Bolton School, my first business. Okay, along with a partner at that time, and then my brothers came in, whatever. But it was in 1979.
Wow.
And there was no cell phones. There was none
No
of
cell
that
phone.
we have today. So, how do you promote yourself? And and how you see yourself out there in the community, and we found the chamber, we found the McAllen JCs, we found other organizations, and then the Triple clubs and this, and I was never a Rotarian or a Lion or a what's the other one? I mean, Kiwanis, but I went to various of their meetings, and it's
The
it's just a
chamber,
growth.
speaking, we're talking about Mexico and all this stuff. The chambers played a very key role in formulating the travel from Mexico. We had an office in Monterrey that we solicited on. Also key in soliciting both our state legislators to help us when the twin plant concept was first going on and going at the national level.
Yeah.
The chamber was paramount
Yep.
in getting our movement going here and organizing the border communities, because the border communities historically were very competitive with each other.
Right.
We didn't want to help Brownsville. Brownsville didn't want to help us. Laredo didn't want to. We were very. But for those things, we all worked together, and both at the state and national level, to get the twin plant concept started, the Maquila program.
I would
basically.
imagine that some of the members that founded the foundation, the economic foundation, okay,
My partner Larry Fallick was one of them.
yeah, were members of possibly the old timers clubs, and of course some of the others in the chamber. And when those 20 or so men, put some money down and to start the foreign trade zone with the foundation, that was the start, and it came from getting to know each other and meeting each other, and they knew that we had to do something to promote this area, and what was the edge? The edge was having a foreign trade zone in which your import-export duties would be eliminated until it left the zone, and we had it, and that was the start. And so you start doing, you're having a Plaza Mall, you're having a foreign trade zone, you're having an active, great community. Mexico said, "Vamos a macalequear." That's what it's called.
Macaleando.
Macaleando, right?
Macaleando.
And that was, it became a thing to do, and you were competing against the Laredos and the Browns.
But what vision? Like, how did you guys come up with this plan?
No, it's not
just
us.
amazing.
It's all.
It's the whole
Well,
community.
The thing is, like if you look at the guys, the foundation, I remember going to the MEDC office and seeing the foundation. A lot of those guys were very active in the chamber. Now, I don't know the connection between the chamber, to be honest with you, might be overstating, but a lot of those guys I know, like Larry was president of the chamber. A lot of those guys had been president of the chambers and been involved in the chamber. And whoever had the foresight to establish the foreign trade zone, I mean, these guys are nuts, and these guys just wrote a check.
Yeah. With their own money.
Their own money, and it was a big check.
It was a big check.
They each wrote a check, and with no guarantees, we're not wanting anything back in return. It wasn't.
Well, but the story is that there was 20 of them, and they put, whatever, a ball or their names, and the first one was going to get their money back, and it was going to take 20 years to do that, to get your money back. That's the story. Is that a fact? I don't. But that's a story that eventually, and it might not have started in year one. It could have started in year 20,
over a few
and
years.
then go another that 20 type scenario. But it was at that time, some monies. But when MEDC was formed, and Mike Allen, former priest, he actually First Holy Communion, he was the priest that my brother and I got the First Holy Communion at Sacred Heart. And later on, I was a president of McAllen JCs, and he called me up and he says, "Okay, we're going to have an economic development arm, and I'm going to be it. And I want some young blood. So you're the president of the JCs. You're coming in. I want somebody from the chamber to be in it. I want whatever, and then it's all economic development people." But he wanted to make sure that he could get segments of the community, and Mike was again, very visionary in his own way. With
was.
the rules,
He was.
those are the times that we made our own rules. But
And those rules, the
Yeah.
rules were más o
Yeah,
menos.
yeah.
The rule says this, pero más o menos.
But at that time, there was no maquila industry.
Right.
No maquila industry. And what are these people considering coming to Reynosa, and what are we going to get out of it here in McAllen? And
Yeah,
that's
I
when
remember
the
that argument.
Zeniths and the General Electrics and the Zenith
How,
and the
how is
General
McAllen going to benefit?
and the General
Yeah.
Motors. Okay, General Motors was one of the first ones, and General Electric, and at
TRW.
that time TRW. And
So there was a
Zenith.
lot of criticism because the development was happening in
It was
Mexico.
It's not criticism. It was
Why are we
not
spending? How
knowing.
is that helping McAllen?
Yeah, that was the argument.
how-
Why are we sending all that money over to Reynosa to build these buildings and we're not getting any of it? And then finally it began to take hold and everybody goes, oh, this is a pretty good idea.
Wow. Well,
I
we're the
remember that.
seventh strongest economies in the state of Texas, the
Really?
McAllen MSA area.
Really?
So your legacy continues. So maybe talk to me a little bit about, from a personal level. I know your father was one of the great business leaders. Maybe a favorite memory, something
Maybe
that
aren't you a 100-year member of the chamber?
that he
No,
Well,
your-
we've been in
your
business.
family, your
We've been in
family.
Your
business
family, yeah.
113 years, but I don't know if we're a 100-year member of the chamber. But my dad was very adamant about being involved in the chamber and doing the things that chamber wanted us to do to bring in new members, but also to help every business be better. And there was no, oh, well, I don't want to do that. No, you're going to do it because that's part of the deal that you owe McAllen. If you take from McAllen, you have to give back from McAllen to McAllen. And so that's what we did. And I've always enjoyed being involved in the chamber. It's been really great for me personally.
Absolutely.
You know, when I got involved with the chamber when I first got here. Obviously, I was in the hotel business, so I was in the travel and tourism. You know, we had a convention and tourism committee, and we had there was 2 or 3 committees that were related to travel, and you know, I was in those. But then, as I got, the one thing that impressed me the most is how everyone in the city, because I came from Laredo, but everyone in the city was pulling in the right direction. I mean, everyone wanted the same thing, you know, and what John said, he hit the nail right on the head. That, you know, what the one thing that people in this town used to do, and I think they still do to a great extent, is, you know what, the city of McAllen has given me a living, I'm going to give it back and give back to the community, whether it's not just the church and the schools, but the other community organizations, and give back. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a seed that was planted by your dad's generation, that took sprout in the chamber. Mm-hmm. And in the chamber, you know, Tommy Joyner, one of my best friends, you know, he's a former chamber exec, and they're always really big about, you know, new charities and new organizations and giving back to the community. You know, when somebody new, a new business would come into town, we'd let them know, you know, we're very happy to have you, Tina. Don't forget that, you know, we have expectations of you to give back. I mean, you know, we're not scared to tell you that, and people would, and people have. I mean, it's just kind of like a chain reaction. You know, it's kind of just happened.
Well, we're seeing what here at the city. We're getting constantly hit with people coming in to the area wanting to know what's available, and in today's era, they're searching through the net, and they're trying to find a community where they want to raise their kids and where they want to live, and because you can operate many of your careers, you can do it from afar. Mm-hmm. So that's what we have. That's what we're competing with. We're competing with people wanting to have all of the avenues, different type of avenues, different type of, it might be their kids are in creative arts, they might be in music, they might be in sports, they might be into, it's just not your, K through 12. They're looking at also, their, upper class, and what you're seeing now with a strong UTRGV, a strong STC,
What a blessing
a new Texas A&M, and growing. All of them are growing. So that's all helping. So instead of us losing it, because when I left high school, I went to college, and then I became a bank examiner for 3 years, and I was outside. But guess what? I came back. Well, in those days, but I came back as a small business. In those days, what did we have to offer? And I think we all should be very, very proud of this area now. And this is not only McAllen. This is this whole region.
The valley.
Okay, including northern Mexico. That there's avenues and there's things that they can do, and they can come back. And there's a few pubs, like and place to eat and place to have entertainment, and so that's what we're looking at, and they're actually coming to us. We're not losing as many. Some that left from here are coming back, and then we have new people. So that's why growth is happening.
I think that all reflects on the growth of, you look at the medical community, you look at what UT, A&M, all these, when we're still fighting, when Shirley and they were still putting up STC. I remember having that argument with people, I said, I was so pro STC when they were first putting it together. I had nothing to do with it. I want to be clear with that, but other than supporting it. But and I would go to other areas and say, man, well, you all have the lowest graduation rate, the lowest amount of college graduates. I say, well, you know why? We don't have any universities. We don't have any junior colleges. We don't have any. I said, our kids are as tall, as skinny, as fat, as ugly, as smart, as dumb as anybody else's. But what they don't have is opportunities. You give them the opportunities, they will excel. Give them the opportunity. And now look at all the opportunities that STC has created.
Oh, man.
And how it facilitates going to UTPA and getting a degree, and how it facilitates
UTRGV.
That one.
Our ways. I would pay.
Tú también.
I'm American, okay?
But all those opportunities that are there, and it's because of the educational foundation that have been sent. Look how good some of the kids do in school now. They have, like I said, our kids, they're as smart as anybody else's.
Sure.
And it has impacted the community so greatly. The three universities, now A&M as well. The Chamber's excited to be partnering with each of the universities in different capacities. But I think you're right. It's a key part of the formula for success in our community.
But back to where we started was that organizations, people gathering, sharing thoughts, mingling, and laughing. Let me tell you something. Nobody forgets his laugh, okay? Nobody forgets his laugh. Nobody forgets his laugh, right? And, I've known these men for 50 years, just about, okay? And there isn't a time that we haven't been happy to be around with each other.
That's correct.
And it's the truth, because we're community, and I'm seeing a lot of I'm seeing youth, I'm seeing them getting involved. I think there's room for many, many more. I encourage you all to just get out and be out with people and mingle with people. I'm not saying that you have to spend a lot of money in whining and dining and whatever. Just go out and get out there. Get out there, because this community is, and this whole social way of being is, you're entrapped inside a
dynamic change.
Yeah,
it's a dynamic
it did.
change. So you got to get yourself out, and you've got to be able to have fun, and the community benefits from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are some ways you see it changing? I mean, social media definitely has played an impact with how we socialize. But do you think some of this old style is still relevant today? And how do we get young people involved?
I not to be too critical, but the traffic, that when I was a kid, there were very few cars on the road. Now, you talked about the freeway, but man, McAllen has a really big in the morning and the afternoon rush hour. And it's people coming to McAllen to work from other cities and then going back home at the end of the day, looking forward to coming back tomorrow. And McAllen's been really good about putting out roads to get people to come to McAllen from other towns to work and to shop. And that's changed tremendously. Because in front of my building, when I was a kid, it was 2-lane kind of dirt road, sort
10th
of.
Street.
On 10th Street. And I lived up on White Wing and 16th, and that was literally Harvey was the end of town when I was a kid. And now look where it is. It's on the other side of 107.
I think
In 1999, Dove Street was a dirt road.
Oh, yeah.
I hunted dove off of Dove Street.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my
No, all
gosh.
kidding aside.
Yeah.
Dove and 23rd.
You
We
can
go
just
every
drive up
afternoon.
10th Street
Wow.
and see an orchard and pull off and
We-
get your gun out.
Well, there was no Walgreens in the corner of Dove and 10th Street.
Don't do that anymore, John.
No, you can't do that anymore.
And there was a house. It was an old house,
Yeah.
a 2-story house on Dove and 10th Street. And right behind it, there was 7 acres. And we did a strip mall, which was a Broadway North shopping center in 1999. You know, it's only 25 years ago, okay? A dirt road. And we had to pave it. There was no Lowe's. There was no nothing. There was whatever. And so we had to pave that 5-lane and then get reimbursed back. So when they developed the other side of the street, and I remember thinking, oh, do we make that investment? That was the best investment I could have ever made.
Wow.
And it just kept going. Then it went to Trenton, and then it went to, it just keeps going. So
I think that I think the biggest challenge that the chamber, that all organizations face, and I'm doing this kind of from I'm not I used to be on 10 board. I used to be very, very active, and now full back. But the getting the younger generation, because this is a new me generation, and life was simpler. And we were in a lot of organizations when we were young, and in our 30s and 40s, even 50s, and we were in a lot of different organizations. But it was easier to get around. It was easier to be involved in other things and stuff like that. And now, the time requirements, I think, are different. And I hope that I'm wrong, but I think that a crucial challenge, not just for the chamber, but for everyone, is to get the younger people, the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s involved and active, not just signing up for a membership. I mean, saying, okay, now John, okay, your first meeting is, okay, you're in this, we're going to need you on this committee, we need you to come in and that makes them feel part of the community, and I think that that's the biggest challenge that, that we face, because we've got some brilliant, smart young people, and I've dealt with them, but they also have, the demands on their time by children and daycare and all this other stuff I don't know how we did it, but we did.
It's pressing.
We didn't have cell phones, so we
More time.
had more time.
Has the profile of our small business community changed? Or do you think it's relatively
Well,
the same? Like, who are small business?
The internet, the buying online, DoorDash. I can't dream. I still can't use that. I'm not going. Come on, if I can't get it in my car, I go out there and get it. But that's the way of life, and it comes. It's here. It's not leaving us. Okay, so you have to adapt, and so you have to be able to. It's a little. I think it was a little easier to be in business in those days.
I do too.
I really do. I think we could make a lot more mistakes than what you can today.
When a new
to
business
succeed.
opened up in town, we all knew about it.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Now a new business opens up in town. I mean,
Every day,
we have 10 a week, you know. But there was a time that, if somebody was going to open up a new business, hey, he's opening up a new, let's go check it, And now, and so there are a lot of people with a lot of foresight and a lot of stuff that are opening up new businesses.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
good.
harder.
It's good to see it.
You got
It's
to
good to see it.
commend those
I
that
do.
are taking
Risk.
that risk and
Yeah.
that challenge. You have to
My
commend
hat's off to 'em.
My hands off to them
Absolutely.
too, because it takes a lot to do that and compete, because you're competing against the world now. Because
Yeah.
you could easily find this mug in so many places now compared to before. So I just saying that there's room. It takes a lot of ganas. It takes, for you small business people who are considering whatever, if you're in your if you're in your kitchen table and you're talking to your family, your kids, and this and that, and you didn't think about anything else but them, well, as soon as you get into business, I'm sorry, they're going to have to share, because you are going to be thinking somehow, some way. You may be talking to your kid and saying this, and I say, man, I got to make this deal in order for him to have, his new glove, his new computer, iPad, his new whatever, his challenge, because that's just a business mentality. An entrepreneur, you've got that. You're constantly doing that. It's so you have to manage yourself. You're not being selfish with, you have to just do that in order to take care of your responsibilities. And so your responsibilities, family, your employees' family, your employees, your this, your that, it just goes on and on. And so if you're going to do that, it's just a way of life. Just make it your way of life. And there's room for everything. There is room for everything, okay? Including our Lord and our God, and we thank Him for everything. And you know that He's leading the way. We're just trying to follow. And but if you get into it, that's what you're getting into.
Be ready.
Be ready. That's what you're getting
Any
into.
advice, John, for somebody starting a new business in the community?
Well, I don't think I'm the one that needs to be given advice, because I took over from my father. I'm the fourth generation. My son's the fifth. No. I didn't have to. In a way, when I started working with him, he told me, it's yours to lose or make it better. And I thought, well, okay, I'll make it better. But I would say, you better be prepared to put in 12, 14-hour days if you're trying to build a new business. You need to be out there in the public. They need to know who you are and what you're doing for the community, and that you're giving back to the community. That's so important. And if you're young and you want to try it out on your own, do it. Don't wait too long, because it's easy to be talked out of it sometimes.
It is easy to be talked out.
It's a tough decision.
I marvel at the guys that go out there and they open up these businesses that you say, man, this guy's nuts. He shouldn't be opening the most successful businesses. Because sometimes when you're in business, you know too much, and you look at all the numbers and we overanalyze this stuff. And well, that makes no sense to do this. So somebody goes out there that makes no sense and they make it work. And these people, they knew it. They like I said, my hat's off to them. But to Tony's point, you give up. When you start opening up new businesses, you have to talk to your family. I talked to my family when I was opening up restaurants and hotels, and I'd be gone 8 weeks, 3 months, 6. So my wife with 3 boys, she had to do everything.
Yep.
And she's a wonderful person. She has terrible eyesight. She married me, but she
John
but other than that,
I didn't tell her not to.
but other than that, no. But it's a sacrifice. The family's going to sacrifice, and they have to be prepared to say, hey, Daddy's not going to be able to go to every baseball game, to every softball. He's going to be working. He's going to be working. And just the way it is.
You're there, but hey, are you going to be there at 10 out of 10? No, you're not going to be there. And you're not a bad parent if you're not at 10 out of 10. Hey, 5 or 6 or 7, that's good.
It's quality, right?
It's
not
quality,
quantity.
Quality time
with
your kids.
You have to. You have to. I do marvel at the vision of some of these young kids. To wow, yeah, I do need that. Yeah, we do need that. Yeah, that could be successful.
I pass by and I tell my wife that business. They won't be here in 2 weeks, and in 2 years they have 6 other locations.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you all for taking the time to share such an important part of our history. It definitely sets us apart, and we take your stories to heart and the lessons that we learn, not just from hearing you today, but from working with you. And I want to thank you all for your mentorship, for your leadership, and for your service to this great community. Anybody want to have some final thoughts on why you should join the Chamber if you're a new business member or a small business owner?
I think that any small business owner or any business owner that comes to the city of McAllen would be doing themselves a terrific disservice if they did not join the chamber and get active in the chamber, because, like I said earlier, at the end of the day, people do business with people. And I don't care what business you're in, you have to deal with people, and people will bring you business. And the chamber is a great networking opportunity that should not be overlooked.
That's very, very true.
There's the ending of the J.C. Creed is service to humanity is the best work of life. And I've always, if I hadn't joined that organization, I don't think I'd be the man that I am today. Okay? And I don't think that my family would be they have the same, they see, they hear, they know them personally, and they see that servicing
Very
to humanity
important.
is the best work of life, and I'm very glad that I learned that in the mid '80s, as young business, and then I just tell everyone to this community needs you, this community needs everyone, and it's not only business, all professions, all blue collar, everybody's important. I don't care if you're helping out in the Little League teams or the volleyball teams or the soccer teams or the church leagues or the whatever you just go out and just be part of it. This community, you'll just feed more, interest in people and show your kindness. This is a kind city, very kind city. It's a welcoming city too. That's the other thing that's we fail to mention sometimes. We're a very diversified city now compared to what we used to be 50 years ago, and we lived it going through this. So hey, I'm learning the way of life that exists out there, and we're seeing it here, and we're welcoming. Our city government is trying to do its best. Always now in today's way of communicating, we need feedback, and we need to know exactly what our needs are. And it's like anything else. If you don't know of something, well,
Can't fix it.
we can't fix it.
Right.
So hey, I think we're here. We've been here. There's a lot of other type of, this is the McAllen Chamber of Commerce, but there's a lot of other organizations.
Absolutely.
The disability, the chambers, the all kinds. There's a need.
There's a place for everybody.
There's a place for everybody, but then there's a place to unite, and we will all unite, and we will all try to be good to each other.
And I think that's a great way to wrap up our session today. Again, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. And I want to thank you for paying attention to this great podcast and for joining us today. The McAllen Chamber of Commerce is open. We're here to do business with you and to support you. And we want to thank all of our special guests today for all that they do, not just for our chamber, but for our great city of McAllen. Thank you again, and we'll see you on our next podcast.